Darien is one of the other characters in my book, Beauty Redeemed. You find out that he is a son of darkness. And so he grew up living in the dark realm. His mother was tied to the dark realm. And pretty much when you live in the dark realm, there's not really a lot of hope of ever getting out of there. And so one thing that's interesting in him, where most people in the dark realm probably may not care about ever getting out, or may think they're never going to get out of there, so they just give up anyway, or they know they're supposed to be there. In Darien, you kind of see this longing that he's had his entire life to see the kingdom of light and to be a part of the light kingdom. And so it's just an interesting contrast, because you would think, oh, he's a darkling, he's from the dark realm. And unfortunately, when you're reading the book Beauty Redeemed, you see a lot of those prejudices come out when he goes to the spring realm. When his mother died, it was her dying wish for him to go to the kingdom of light and be an apprentice with her old friend Moradin, who is the healer of the realm and kind of a wizard type character. But when Darien gets to the spring realm, he's just kind of overwhelmed by all of the beauty that he sees everywhere. When he first meets Julianna, he is just drawn to her like a moth to a light bulb, because she is just this radiant light that he has never seen before. He's never seen beauty like hers before. And so it's kind of cool for him to get to experience the spring realm. But you do also see the side of him that is just kind of like, he wishes he could be a part of that world, but deep down he believes that he could never be a part of that realm because he is a child of darkness. And so in contrast to Julianna, who lives in the kingdom of light and has always just struggled with darkness, so she herself doesn't feel worthy to live there, Darien has always lived in darkness, and so he's never had the idea that light would ever be an option for him. But you see that in so many people. I have friends like this. I have seen so many other people like this and struggle with this myself, but some people just feel like they're so lost in darkness. They're so trapped in the dark world and so trapped in their sin or things that have been done to them or their dark lives. And they just believe that they could never be a child of light. They can never experience that redeeming love that Christ has given us. And so you see kind of similarity between him and Julianna, where they're both children that deal with light and darkness, and neither one of them feel worthy to live in the kingdom of light. And yet in the end, you see that that is exactly where they were meant to be. And you see that through different friendships and relationships that get built between Darien and some of the people in the realms, that he does have a chance to be a child of light, and there is more light in him than him or anyone else in the world would have ever imagined. And in the beginning, you kind of see this contrast where people just aren't sure about him because he's a darkling and he came from the dark realm, and they're afraid that he's just there to spread his darkness and take over the kingdom of light. And you kind of see these prejudices, and yet on the flip side, some of those people making those prejudices against him and those judgments against him are themselves not the righteous, holy people that they're trying to present themselves to be. And so in creating Darien's character, it was kind of just that thing too, like I said, about the church and the people in the church and believers, where we can put on that facade of being these righteous, holy people, and really we're not, because we don't have that personal relationship with Christ. But so many times too, the church and believers can be very condemning and very judging of people outside of the church. If we see sinners on the street, or if we see people who are not living for Christ or not giving their life over to God, we are so quick to judge and so quick to cast them out and pretty much tell them, you're not worthy, you're never going to be able to be forgiven, you're never going to be redeemed. And so we take away their hope and their redemption, basically, when Christ came for all. He died for all. Everyone has a chance to be redeemed. Everyone has a chance to be loved. Everyone has the choice to live in the kingdom of light. And so you kind of see that a lot in Darien, when he is just kind of judged a lot by a lot of the people in the spring realm just because he's from the dark realm and just because he has ties to darkness. And you see a contrast with how people like Gabriel or Bryn or Ariana interact with him, and even Julianna. And they just treat him like a normal person. They treat him as a friend. They treat him with respect. And they bring him into their friendship circle and show him like he's no different than anyone else. He also has a chance to live in the kingdom of light. And they share with him their personal stories. Like Ariana shares with him her own ties to darkness when she was changed into a monster, you know, and her curse and how she's dealt with that her whole life. And so it's kind of a cool thing of looking at how we tend to act towards people who aren't necessarily Christians or necessarily living Christ-like lives, but yet that contrast of showing them love and friendship and respect. And no, you don't leave those people in the dark, but the focus of our lives should always be to draw people in with love and show them the transforming love of Christ, you know. So Darien is kind of a different character. He comes from the dark realm, and he has ties to the Dark Lord that you'll find out about as you read it. But when Julianna first meets him, he looks so different compared to anything else she's ever seen in the Spring Realm. People of the Spring Realm are usually just more of a normal skin tone, and their cheeks might be more rosy or pink because they're in the Spring Realm and they live in sunshine all the time, and they're more like just vibrant colors. And Darien comes in and he's described as having like ashen skin, and his hair is dark black and his clothes are dark black. And so it's just a very dark contrast compared to the beings in the Spring Realm. Some interesting things too about Darien being from the dark realm. He's not used to seeing things that are beautiful. He's not used to seeing things that are light. And there's even this little part towards the very, very end of the book where he sees a sunrise for the first time in his life. And so creating this realm and creating the Spring Realm and the Dark Realm in the Spring Realm book, it was just kind of interesting for me to create those contrasting realms, because you see the Spring Realm that's so full of life and color and flowers and sights and smells that you would never see anywhere else. And the Dark Realm, you'll read, is a very dark, dark place, and they have no light. They have no sun. Everything smells like death. It smells toxic, and life there is just miserable, basically. And so it was very interesting and fun for me to create the two realms, and you kind of see the world through Darien's eyes as he starts to explore the Spring Realm and kind of enjoy its beauty and enjoy its light and all the things that he experiences there compared to the Dark Realm. And you also see Julianna interact with the Dark Realm and pieces of the darkness that she's never seen in her life either. And so for her, this is a very different thing to experience that too. And so it's just really cool. Obviously, the Dark Realm is kind of like hell, essentially. And so I tried to portray it as much as I could as what I imagine it to be, kind of like as it's described in the Bible. And so I took a lot of that from different things I've read in the Bible and different things about what hell would be like. And it's just kind of a place of death and darkness. And it's just very sad and tragic and miserable.